Good evening. Happy Saturday, maybe Sunday, wherever you are. This is a video where Juan Galt slaps himself with his own words. Question mark, exclamation mark, question mark. Never accuse a brother, just ask the right questions, and they'll do it to themselves. Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. Or, comma, give a man enough rope and he'll hang himself. Exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. So we got us a real genius here. Let's see what he has to say. Show me the transcript. There we go. All right. Are we ready? Yeah, let's. Oh, God, I hate sovereign citizens. Whew. All right, let's do this. Street legal thinking. Is it street legal thinking? Like something that's like, is this car street legal? That kind of thinking? Or is it street legal thinking? Like, yo, dog, you gotta object if they use hearsay word. Let's find out.
Hey guys, gonna do a little reaction to a reaction video here today. I've been on a
I'm going to do a reaction to a reaction to a reaction video today.
couple of calls with this gentleman. Answers to the name Juan Galt. Seems to be a bit of a belligerent in my estimation. Claims to be an attorney, acts like he knows everything, and well, quite frankly, has a tendency of using ad hominems quite a lot, using derogatory marks and such. So, but
Huh. Well, let's see. You just called him a belligerent. You insinuate that he's not an attorney and say that he's a know it all. And then you accuse him of using derogatory remarks and ad hominems. This would be called poisoning the well. But what do I know? Let's continue.
let's just get into this and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'm looking for the matter of Jonathan Sparks. Are you Jonathan Sparks? Or were you the... Allegedly, that's the name I've been known to use. Allegedly? Did you hear that?
Yes, allegedly, Juan. Did you hear that?
Yes, he had to have heard it because he remarked on it. So,
This Sovcit has been taught by his guru that you never make an affirmative statement.
And first and foremost, let's really be serious here, Juan. Please define Sovcit. Please define with great detail exactly what a Sovcit is, and then please provide the evidence that this brother here is such a thing.
okay. Well, we just went over it where Jonathan Sparks says he is allegedly. That's evidence that Jonathan Sparks is a sovereign citizen. So, now what is a sovereign citizen? My definition of sovereign citizen is someone who ignores the laws and the definitions that they don't like and misunderstand or misuse the laws that they and definitions that they do like in order to support a view of the law that does not comport with reality. But if you don't like my view, my definition, let's see. The sovereign citizen movement, also Sovcit movement or Sovcits, is a loose grouping of litigants, activists, tax protesters, financial scheme promoters, and conspiracy theorists who claim to be answerable only to their particular interpretations of the common law and not subject to any government statutes or dot dot dot. And this is the part that I agree most with the Wikipedia definition on, is that they have their particular interpretations of the common law and they don't really care what the actual interpretations are as defined by judges, except if they want to cherry pick something out of a case to try to support their own notions.
I've actually been on the phone with this brother Jonathan. Brother knows what he's talking about, and he's actually pretty intelligent. And yeah, allegedly, because
So your evidence that this Jonathan Sparks is not a sovereign citizen is that you, a sovereign citizen, have been on the phone with him, and you, a guy who doesn't know what he's talking about, thinks that Jonathan Sparks knows what he's talking about, and that you, who can't even understand basic definitions like what a Sovcit is or how to use punctuation correctly, you think he's actually pretty intelligent. Well, I mean, maybe compared to you, sure.
well, quite frankly, let's cover this right now. On the backside of the so-called Social Security card,
Why do you call it a so-called social security card? That is or is not a social security card.
very top paragraph on this one. It's been other paragraphs. I've heard it's on the third, heard it's second. But one of them, it says that this card belongs to the Social Security Administration. The thing you have to ask yourself is, do they give a flying fuck about the less than a penny's worth of paper?
No, they give a flying fuck about the information contained on it. The social security card obviously will contain your name and your social security number. Let's see. 408 maybe? Alter. Altering a social security card, buying or selling a card that is or purports to be a card so issued, counterfeiting a social security card, or possessing a social security card or counterfeit social security card with the intent to sell or alter it is a felony. So they care a lot about the information that's on it, because with someone's name and social security number, maybe a few other things like date of birth, something like that, you can get more of their information. You can open up credit accounts in their name. You know, you can fraudulently obtain employment if you don't have a social security number of your own, or if, for example, you have child support payments that, you know, that the state's gonna take out of your paycheck, so you might use a fake social security number to try to gain employment. So yeah, they're very interested in controlling access to the information on that card, who can have it, and if you can alter it, because that can detrimentally affect the person whose card it is, or you know, or other people. You can use that personally identifiable information to commit fraud on people. And so yeah, they take it very seriously. And so it's not the value of the paper, it's the information that's printed on it that they're concerned about. So yes, they exercise ownership of the card. It's your card, but the Social Security Administration owns it, so they can enact laws and things to protect it. You know, so they claim it's theirs. You can't alter it. It's theirs. If it was yours, you would be able to alter it, and, you know, without issue, because it's yours. But no, it's theirs, so you can't alter it.
Or are they claiming ownership of that information?
Claiming ownership of the information, that's kind of weird. Like, claiming ownership of the information. I don't know how that would work. Information, anyone can possess it. I mean, like ownership, like patent, like there's some information that you can patent, but just information in general. I mean, there's no real ownership of information in general. Like, if, you know, like 2 + 2 is 4, that's information, right? And like, if I teach that to someone else, I don't give up my understanding of it. I don't give up my information. It's there's an inexhaustible amount of it out there. That's a weird way to phrase it. It's almost like you're trying to phrase it in a weird way to bolster a shit argument.
I'm pretty sure it's the information, which means that they own that name.
Wait. So hold on. Whew. So okay. So the Social Security Administration saying that they own the card so that they could protect the card and the information on it from being altered or possessed by people who want to commit fraud with it. That has all of a sudden become them owning the name. And how do you own a name? Again, I could see trademarking a name like Coca-Cola. You could trademark it so other people couldn't use it in a business kind of sense. But like, I mean, theoretically, if I had a kid, I could name my kid Coca-Cola. Hey, Coca-Cola, come here. I could do that. I mean, and Coca-Cola wouldn't be able to stop me from doing it. And, you know, if I had 10 kids, I could name all 10 kids Coca-Cola. So how do you own a name? Like, you know, my first name is John. There's, you know, it's one of the most common names in the English language. Does that, I can't walk up to some other dude named John and be like, yo, bro, give me my name back. That doesn't even make sense. Just own is the wrong way to look at it. Like, the name John describes me. It may also describe other people, but it describes me. It's my name. Like, it's associated with me. It's my name, but it's not a thing I own. It's not really even a thing that possess. It's like it's a descriptive thing. It describes the relationship between the name, or it describes me, I should say. It doesn't describe so John describes me. It's one of the things that identifies me, that describes me. I guess. I don't know. It's weird. I just don't understand why you'd say that they own the name. They obviously don't. I mean, like, I could change my name. I mean, they don't own. Yeah, they don't own the name. I don't even understand that.
So anyway, let's get back into this.
It's because they interpreted statements as claims that require proof.
Well,
and you know that's a pretty accurate thing that Juan Galt just said. I mean, you might notice that this guy was like, you know, please define Sovcit. Please define with great detail exactly what it is, and then please provide the evidence. You know, they view everything as like a claim. If you make a claim, it requires proof, which I'm sure is why this guy throws question marks in all of his statements. Just so he could pretend that he's not making a statement. No, I'm not making a statement. I'm just asking a question. It's weak, first of all. I mean, if you're not man enough to actually, or if you're not certain and confident enough to make a statement, then, you know, maybe you should reflect a little bit more and make sure you understand what you're talking about so that you do have the kind of confidence to make a statement. So Juan just says that it's because they say things like allegedly, you know, I'm allegedly that man, and they say that that's a claim that requires proof, you know, because they want to avoid claims that require proof. So let's see what this dude thinks about that.
two things here. Number one, what is your guru?
Yeah, it's a claim that requires proof. So you like, Juan Galt's like, yeah, you know, they don't want to make a statement because they think all statements are claims that require proof. And this guy's like, oh, what's your proof of that? Number one, what is your guru?
I don't believe Bats has ever claimed to be a guru, and yes, he is.
Okay, so I'm sure that Juan does not think that this Bats is an actual guru. Guru is, I think, like an Indian teacher, like Indian from India, like a religious teacher. Let's see, guru. A spiritual teacher. Okay. So I don't think that that Juan Galt actually thinks this Bats guy, whoever that is an actual guru. I'm sure that Juan is using it kind of semi condescendingly. You know, oh, he's a guru. He's a real guru. Like the guy Bats is giving out bad information apparently, and I don't know who Bats is, so I don't really know. I don't know what information he's giving out other than this allegation that that Bats is teaching these people not to make affirmative statements. But he's using it like condescendingly, and just because Bats never called himself or claimed to be a guru, who cares? I mean, if I say that you're an idiot, well, I never claimed to be an idiot. I mean, prove to me I'm an idiot.
Speaking of Bats or Batman, a brother that has been around for a while, and he figured a few things out along with a couple other brothers many years ago, and
So because he's been around for a while and figured a couple things out, like, so what? Like, and what is if you're gonna try to make Juan back up his claims with evidence, where's your evidence of this? Where's your evidence that this Bat guy has, in quotes, figured out a couple things?
quite frankly, it's very effective because it's the basis and the most logical, reasonable thing to actually do. In this,
Wait, what the fuck did he just say? And quite frankly, it's very effective because it's the basis and the most logical, reasonable thing to actually do. That is word salad right there. You know, my pen is very effective for writing on paper because when I use the pen, it leaves ink on the paper and it doesn't smear. It's a very effective pen. This hammer is very effective for driving a nail in, and it's very effective for driving a nail in because it has weight on the end of a lever that when you swing it, it multiplies your force and allows you to drive nails faster with a hard striking surface. But quite frankly, it's very effective because it's the basis of what? And are things that are the basis of things by definition effective? Like, are the limits of our observational skills are the basis of some people thinking magic is real? But does that mean does that mean that our failures of observation are very effective? So quite frankly, it's very effective because it's the basis. That doesn't make sense. So if we ignore that and we just go to the and, it'd be quite frankly, it's very effective because it's the most logical, reasonable thing to actually do. That's circular reasoning. It's very effective because it's the most logical, reasonable thing to actually do. It's the most logical and reasonable thing to actually do because it's very effective. It's circular reasoning. I don't know why I should expect something different from a sovereign citizen, but word salad and circular reasoning. Why not?
this legal world, there is something, a little legal maxim, kind of. It's unwritten, unspoken a lot, but it is that anything and everything that goes unquestioned, unrebutted, or unobjected to is considered to be consented to and are true. And
in this legal world, there is something, a little legal maxim. A maxim is like a little truism or something that you just kind of accept. It's something that's accepted. So, well, let's look at some maxims. How about that? Civ Code California. General provisions, somewhere down in here. Nuisance maxims. Here we go. When the reason of a rule ceases, so should the rule itself. Where the reason is the same, the rule should be the same. One must not change his purpose to the injury of another. What I have never seen is any of the maxims that say anything and everything that goes unquestioned, unrebutted, or unobjected to is considered to be consented to under true. Maybe there's a mistaken translation. Let's try that again.
That anything and everything that goes unquestioned, unrebutted, or unobjected to is considered to be consented to under true.
No, he did say under true. Maybe he meant and? Maybe he's drunk. I don't know. So I don't know what this legal maxim is, but I can see why it's unwritten and unspoken, because it's also not a thing. If let's say, for example, the police say, you killed somebody, right? And let's say that you have exercised your right to remain silent and you keep your mouth shut. So you're not questioning it, you're not rebutting it, and you're not objecting to it. Does that mean that you just completely forego the trial? No, they still have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. So, no, that's stupid and it's dumb. And if you go into court, like you're the defendant in a criminal case, you don't have to put on a defense. But the prosecution still carries the burden of proof of having to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed the crime. They still have to bring up all their witnesses. And just because the prosecution brings up a witness, and that doesn't mean that anything that witness says, unless it's objected to or rebutted or questioned, that doesn't mean that the jury has to believe them. You gotta remember that the way a lot of felony complaints are generated is through the use of a grand jury. And in a grand jury, there is no defense. The defense isn't allowed in there. It's just the prosecution. And the prosecution basically gets to put on its case for the grand jury. So the grand jury doesn't always accept what the prosecution says. They usually do, but if there's that presumption is not true. That I'm not aware of it being true.
And in the real world, not just in the legal world, if you make a claim, you ought to be able to provide evidence that backs up those claims.
Well, why don't you provide evidence that backs up your claim? That if you make a claim, you ought to be able to provide evidence to back up the claim. Is that a moral code? Is that just a logical truism that you're trying to say? Is that a religious thing? Why can't I just make a claim? Why should I ought to provide evidence to back my claim? What if I just said I like ice cream? Do I have to all of a sudden like bust out charts and diaries and all sorts of legal documents to prove that I like ice cream? Or can I just say I like ice cream?
I don't give a fuck what it is. And if you can't provide the evidence that the claims that you're making are true, then what the fuck are you making the claims for?
Because maybe I just wanted to let you know that I like ice cream. I mean, you live in a weird world where you can't just say, I like ice cream. Yeah, the 49ers suck, or whatever sports ball team. There's people make claims all the time that they don't have evidence for, or that they aren't providing evidence for. Blue is a pretty color. Okay.
That's just pretty simple shit. And it.
Well, I mean, these are claims that you're making and not providing evidence for. So yeah, it is pretty simple.
It seems to me that you would want to stay in honor.
You'd want to stay in honor? What's that?
And it's pretty dishonorable to make a bunch of claims about shit and not be able to prove.
It seems to me you would want to stay in honor. Well, that's your opinion. by your own logic, you'd have to provide evidence of that, I guess. And then again, it's your opinion that it's pretty dishonorable to make a bunch of claims about stuff and not be able to prove those claims are true. I don't know why that's dishonorable. Where is it written that that's dishonorable? Is that just your opinion? Provide evidence for it, I guess. I don't know. It's pretty stupid. It's pretty stupid. Your arguments are pretty stupid, sir.
That those claims are true. Just seems to be. So let's get back into
Oh, well, I guess if you say at the end of it, well, it just seems to be, then all of a sudden you don't have to provide evidence for it. Seems to me you're pretty stupid.
this.
Instead, he responds with a question, or he prefaces any statement with allegedly or I believe. Listen for these things. Now here's his guru.
You got to make a claim.
His
to get
guru.
jurisdiction.
What the fuck?
If you say
As if-
allegedly, I've been told.
As if somebody can own a guru. His guru.
No, it's... Why do you go to ownership? That is so ridiculous. It's his guru. Like if I say, it's your mom, that doesn't mean you own your mom. It means that in relation to you, that person is your mom. That person birthed you, if that helps you. In relation to Jonathan Sparks, this Bats guy or Batman or whatever the hell it is, taught him. It doesn't mean he owns it. Like, do you not understand how English works? Criminy crackers, you're a freaking idiot.
Guru. Like Ja owns the guru. Somebody owns Bats. And when did anybody ever claim besides you, Juan, that Bats is a guru? Who's making that claim besides you?
What? What kind of a non sequitur is that? Of course, he's not saying that Jonathan Sparks owns Batman. And it doesn't matter how many people are making the claim. The claim is either true or false, regardless of how many people are making the claim. That's, what is that? Argumentum ad populum. Just because a belief is popular doesn't make it true. Although, in the real world, the more people believe something, the more likely it is to be true. Because, generally speaking, if too many people were seeing something and, well, maybe not. A lot of people believe a lot of stupid stuff today that has no real basis in reality. But let's continue.
Sounds like you might have a lot of first-hand experience being a guru there, bro. Could you kindly express some of that? Could you tell us about it?
Wait, what? Sounds like you might have a lot of first-hand experience of being a guru. What's your evidence that he's a guru? What's your evidence of that? Who made the claim that Juan Galt is a guru besides you? Christ on a cracker. This guy is hilarious in a sad sort of way. Look at him. He thinks he's actually making a good point. So now this gentleman is asking Juan Galt to provide evidence to support this guy's theory or opinion that Juan Galt sounds like he has a lot of first-hand experience of being a guru. He's asking Juan Galt to provide evidence to support his own belief of what Juan Galt is. That's weird. That's just weird. Why wouldn't you, I mean, if you're the one who's now making the claim, although you do try to soften it, just like Juan Galt says about, instead he responds with a question, or he prefaces any statement with allegedly or I believe. Listen for those things. And now he's saying, it sounds like, so he doesn't want to make an affirmative statement. You have a lot of experience with being a guru there, bro. Could you kindly express some of that? Would you tell us about it? That'd be great.
That'd be great.
Yeah, well, I wanted to make the cop ask me, what what's your name? I said, what do you mean by name? Well, I've been known to answer to. I know, it sounds a little ridiculous, maybe.
I'll take care of it. Okay. What do you mean by that? I mean, for that matter, I believe. Did you got proof of insurance or inspection? I'm here to ask about that. Let me think. Mr. Sparks, what do you mean? Yes, you are here about that. You're charged with a tag violation, an insurance violation, and a respect violation. You got those things fixed? Allegedly, that's the name of the no use. I'm here to ask who the claimant is. Okay. We don't play those types of games.
They must be out there piss heads.
Do you want to represent yourself, or are you going to hire an attorney? How about it?
Yeah, how does one represent themselves?
Why do you say it that way? It's represent. You represent yourself. You speak for yourself. To be entitled or appointed to act or speak for someone, especially in an official capacity. If you are representing yourself, you are entitled or appointed to act or speak for yourself in court. If someone is representing you, you're not entitled or appointed to speak or act, you're not entitled or appointed to act or speak for you in an official capacity in court. That's what your attorney is for. He's representing you. If you represent yourself, then you are making the objections. You are making the motions, things like that. I mean, like, a fifth grader understands this.
Shouldn't have cut Jonathan off there, but
Present myself.
how do you either present yourself or... Nah.
Does that hurt your little brain? Does it give you thinky pain to try to figure out how you can be entitled or appointed to act or speak for yourself, especially in a official capacity? Your widow boyhood?
A few moments later.
There's folks who come through the legal system and like to do certain things to just kind of delay, but it's just a whole lot easier to just answer questions. Do you have an attorney representing you or not? Are you speaking to me?
Usually go. Seems I should everyone too many times. Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Yes, sir. Your name is Jonathan Sparks, is it not? How does one know such a thing? I'm trying to make it see if you're on you.
And no, that judge is not, or whoever is not trying to make it easier on the so-called brother.
Now he was your brother, and now he's so-called brother? Is this like allegedly? He's allegedly your brother? I mean, you literally make Juan Galt's case for him. You're not smart enough to prevent yourself from making claims, but you try to, and you try to throw stuff in there every once in a while. It's pretty silly. Does it make it easier on the guy to just cooperate and give his name? It makes things go faster for everybody. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I have to sit around in court a lot waiting to be heard that maybe I don't find it as fun as other people do. But maybe this guy might want to get his stuff wrapped up and go home without catching additional charges for contempt or what have you. Maybe.
They're trying to make it easier on themselves. They know they have to get him to claim that name, otherwise they're done.
They have to get him to claim that name. Well, let's review the tail of the tape here. Let's review the evidence that we know so far. Number one, he's in court. Number two, they expected someone by his name to show up in court. They know the charges. He knows that he's there. So what that indicates to me, that is evidence that he received some sort of a traffic citation. I believe they said it was for no tags, no inspection, and no insurance or something like that, which means he probably signed the citation, which is why they're expecting a Jonathan Sparks to appear, and Jonathan Sparks appeared. He understands this. He understands the court has jurisdiction over him, because if all he had to do was not say his name, he wouldn't show up. They'd be like, hey, are you Jonathan Sparks? And he'd just say, oh, allegedly, I've been known to go by that name. Oh, but they can't get him. They can't do anything to him unless he claims the name. No, bro. That's why he's there in court, because he knows that they have power over him, that they have jurisdiction over him, that men with guns and handcuffs will take him and put him in a cage if he doesn't show up. Your argument that they need him somehow to admit to his name is nonsense.
I believe I'm here for that matter. Allegedly.
Brother's doing great. Stand on point.
Staying on, he's just saying allegedly about his name. I mean, that's not some genius legal strategy. Brother staying on point. Don't you mean so-called brother?
Are you speaking to me?
You talking to me?
You talking to me, man?
Talking to me?
Mr. Sparks, stand up. You, right there, stand up. Are you talking to...
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I am. Stand up. Stand up. I want you to show that everything happens. The way you follow the court's instructions can result in contempt. Do you understand that?
Whoa, this judge must have had experience with these Sovcits before. And this judge ain't playing.
I'm not a big fan of judges that can't keep displays of emotion down, that can't keep a calm, judicial kind of attitude about them. You can definitely make sure that someone understands the rules of court and how you have control over the courtroom without raising your voice or yelling or anything like that. So I don't like it, but I guess, a lot of people do like it when the judges lose their shit at Sovcits.
Could it be, Juan, that it's all an act? That this judge is just doing this to see if he can get this brother to...
Could it be an act to get this so-called brother, don't you mean? Generally speaking, the courts, at least in California, I'm not sure where this particular one was heard, but the courts in California are just overwhelmed. There are way too many people using the courts, and there's not enough judges and commissioners and courtrooms to hear them all. And so, generally speaking, like if you go into one of these arraignments where it's a cattle call, they want to get through these things. So this one apparently wasn't a cattle call. This one was where they apparently called his case. But they want to get through these things. I mean, they have like 50 or 100 of these things to do before lunch, and they've got to get through them. They've got to move through them. It's basically all it is they make sure that they've got an attorney if they need one appointed, then they get one appointed. Do you plead? Do you waive time? Like let's get this going, man. Let's get this going. There's a bunch of other people waiting to get through the same process that you're waiting to get through, and now you're dragging out because you want to play stupid word games. I mean, it's not that it's not anything special. The judge has to get through these things.
Accept the offer to contract? Because could it be everything coming out of this judge's mouth is an offer to contract?
No, nothing coming out of the judge's mouth is an offer to contract. Contract requires an offer, acceptance, and consideration. And the remedy for breach of contract is going to be something along the lines of, getting back your expected... Oh, the words are going out of my head. Benefit of the bargain. You might get the benefit of the bargain. You might get, the amount of money that you're out, restitution. There's various remedies that you can get for breach of contract, but there's no punishments. You don't get like punitive damages for breach of contract, and people certainly don't go to jail for it. There aren't a lot of the same protections for breach of contract cases. Like, you're not entitled to an attorney if you can't afford one. I mean, if you can afford one, unless you're in small claims, you could probably hire one to represent you in most states. But You don't have a right to a jury trial necessarily. I mean, depends on what court you're in, yada yada. But you don't have a lot of the same protections kicking in for a contract case. What the judge is trying to do is the judge is trying to get you to say what you want, and if you don't, then the judge can go ahead and order it for you. Like, you know, do you have an attorney? Do you want an attorney? If you don't have an attorney and you want an attorney but you can't afford it, I'm going to appoint one for you right now. If you don't answer me, then I have to guess. I have to guess whether you want one or not. And I would prefer not to guess. I would prefer you to make that choice because it's your right to make that choice. Do you want to plead not guilty or guilty? You have that choice. If you don't plead, I'm going to enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf, and we're going to move along to trial. The judge doesn't need this guy to say anything, but it is in the benefit of the appearance of justice. Now, we don't have a justice system, we have a legal system, but it's in the appearance of justice if the accused gets to make the decisions that the accused is entitled to make. If he doesn't make them, the process will move forward. But it looks better and everybody's happier if the defendant makes the decisions that he's entitled to make.
That's right, it is. It is an offer to contract one, and you...
Okay, so you remember how you were saying a little bit ago that, you know, if you make a claim, you better have evidence for it, yada, yada. Well, now you've made a claim, and I'm sure that you're going to offer us evidence. You're not just going to say that this is an offer to contract. You're going to show us evidence of it. And even if it is an offer to contract, who cares? Reality is there are armed men in that courtroom ready to take this guy into custody if he upsets the system too much, if he commits direct contempt. There are, outside the courtroom, there are more armed men with handcuffs who will arrest him if he fails to appear. It's, you know, nobody likes to hear this, but this is all about power. The state has the power to enforce the laws, whether you want them to or not, whether you think they're right or not. The state has the power, and the basis of that power is its ability to use force to get its way, to use force to make you comply or to punish you for not complying, depending. It's not contracts, bro. People can break contracts without penalty. It's not contracting.
You fucking know it too, you fucktard. And yeah.
Remember in the beginning how this guy was like, you know, Juan Galt, he uses ad hominems and he is very derogatory. Huh.
Ad hominems, but we're not fucking having a conversation, so yeah, I'm gonna call you all kinds of shit.
Oh, wait. So you can call people all sorts of names, use ad hominems, and be derogatory unless you're having a conversation. So when Juan was making his video, and you said that we're all going to see in Juan's video that you're reviewing that Juan uses ad hominems and derogatory languages, what's the fundamental difference between Juan reviewing a video and you reviewing a video where Juan can't use ad hominems or shouldn't use ad hominems or derogatory language, but it's okay if you do it? It seems like you've got a little bit of special pleading going on where it's okay for you but not for Juan.
Are you speaking to me or the neighbor? I'm about to go to jail.
Oh, you boys will love it here.
Okay, was that a Zoidberg impression? I don't know.
Would you like me to...
Scare tactic.
No, it's not it's not a scare tactic. There's literally a man, an armed man in that courtroom, a man with a gun and handcuffs, and a radio to call more men with guns and handcuffs, who can and will take Jonathan Sparks into custody through violence if necessary, if the judge up on the bench tells him to. It's not a scare tactic. It's a threat.
Okay, would you like me to come in? I'm here for the matter of the name Jonathan Sparks, and I believe there's been a mistake.
I have advised you of your maximum punishments for your offenses. You have 3 options concerning an attorney. You wish to represent yourself, hire an attorney, or ask for a court lawyer.
How can I represent myself if I am myself?
Those are your 3 options.
I would like to deal with this matter honorably, and I think there's been a mistake in the matter of this name. Who is claiming that I've made a claim to that name?
Are you Jonathan Sparks?
Excellent job, brother.
Who is claiming that I made a claim to that name? The only person in this video who has said, I am allegedly Jonathan Sparks, is this guy. You tell me, Jonathan Sparks, who is alleging that you're Jonathan Sparks? You know someone is, apparently, because you're saying that allegedly you're Jonathan Sparks. And who's claiming that I made a claim to that name? I will go ahead and claim that you made a claim to that name, because Jonathan Sparks, up near the beginning, said, I've been called that, or something along those lines, or what did he say? That's it. That's the name I've been known to use. So you've made a claim to the name Jonathan Sparks, Mr. Sparks. Oh, excellent job, brother. Don't you mean excellent job, so-called brother? And where's your evidence? And it's an excellent job. I mean, this is just such a nonsense. I'm sorry for dragging this out, but it's, yeah.
How can one be a name?
How can one be a name? Holy shit. Hey, you're tall. How can one be tall? Because it identifies you. It's a description of you, like your name identifies you. It describes you. You're Jonathan. You're Jonathan Sparks. How can I be Jonathan Sparks? Doesn't that sound a little stupid to you? You are Jonathan Sparks. How can one be a name?
Scare tactics.
How can one
No. Threats.
You're saying you're not Jonathan Sparks? Then I'll leave you with the rest. The sheriff taking an investment. You understand that?
Scare
How can
tactics.
one be a name?
Yeah, we've been over this.
You wish to represent yourself, hire an attorney, ask for a court lawyer.
Again, I believe there's been a mistake in the matter. Is someone claiming that I've made a claim to that name? Can I speak with the claimant?
Is someone claiming that I've made a claim to that name? Who cares? The judge is not asking you if someone's claiming that you're Jonathan Sparks. The judge is asking you if you are Jonathan Sparks. There's a difference between that and claiming that someone is making a claim to a name. That's just such nonsense. It's like a toddler who, is trying to argue but doesn't really know how to form a logical argument, and so they just say stuff. No, you're the cold pickle chicken hot dog. Wait, what?
The court will find that the defendant has willfully failed to exercise his right to request a court from his lawyers. Will find that he has waived counsel by being obstinate and refusing to answer the court's questions.
And no, this brother has not ever once refused to answer the court's questions. The court.
Yeah, he has refused to answer the court's questions because the court asked him a question and he never answered any of the court's questions. He would merely say something like, allegedly, that's me. Who's claiming that I've made these names? So he's never answered the court's question. The court's question was, are you Jonathan Sparks? And he never said yes or no. He never answered. He gave evasive answers at best. He gave non-answers, generally speaking, or he just asked questions in response.
It's the fucking judge. It's just a man in a fucking dress.
No, it's not just a man in a dress. It's like saying a plumber is just a man with a pipe wrench. No, he's the person who has the skills and the ability to fix your plumbing. A judge is a person with the skills and ability and training and knowledge to adjudicate the matters before him. He knows the rules of court. He knows the law. He is fair and impartial, or at least he should be. I mean, that's not a man in a dress. You're using an ad hominem. You're trying to undermine the judge's authority. We have granted, we as a nation, as the individual states, I should say, or maybe in the individual counties, the people in the county or the state have elected this person to have this power to make rulings. We've given him the power. Judges, generally speaking, are elected probably by the county, but maybe in your state it's by the state. I don't know, and I don't care what your state does in particular, but they're elected officials that we've given the power to adjudicate these matters. He's not just a man in a dress. If you, Mr. Sovereign Citizen, put on that same judge's robe, you would not have the power to do what that judge does. The trappings don't make him a judge. It's that he's elected and that he is considered by the bailiffs and by the people around him as having that power.
Symbolism is everything.
Symbolism is meaningless. I mean, and again, he makes a stupid claim, and then he provides no evidence to back it up.
Once again, the Sovcit BS fails, and this gentleman is headed to trial. And I imagine we can figure out how.
And his BS did fail. He is headed to trial. That's a 100% correct statement. Yeah.
This trial will turn out.
Well, I don't know how the trial will turn out. We know he's headed for trial. We know, I mean, unless something else comes up, he's headed for trial. I mean, he might make a plea deal, but the track that he's on is headed for trial. Yeah. But how will it turn out? I don't know. I don't even know where this is. I mean, if this is in like Texas or something, it might be a jury trial, and you know, the jury might find that the state doesn't meet its burden of proof. I mean, just like the guy could just sit there and not say anything, and the state would still have to meet its burden of proof. And so, you know, I don't know how it'll turn out.
Nope, you're done. Free to go. Free to go. You can't.
Well, I got to tell you, right here. Let's listen in. Let's because I spoke with this brother, so-called Jonathan, the brother that answers to Jonathan Sparks. I spoke with this brother before he went back for the so-called trial. He was prepared. He was very prepared. Let's see what happens.
So he went back for trial. So what we're going to hear here, what we're going to listen to is the beginning of a trial or something. Let's listen in.
Juan, pay attention, you stupid fuck.
For that matter. Allegedly.
And I guess that was not conversational, so he can insult Juan again.
Dismissed.
I can't hear that. Wait, what is it? Court visit 2 of 2.
I'm here for that matter. Allegedly.
Mark Stein present. Is Mark Stein present? That doesn't sound like the start of a trial.
Yes, sir.
Somebody else got in there. So now there's 3 people present. Normally you don't have 3 people present for a trial, 3 defendants present for a trial. That guy who's talking sounds like the bailiff, whoever would be checking him in. And then it jumps to Sparks matter dismissed. Let's listen again. So there's editing in here. Who knows what it actually says?
Have a good Yes, sir.
So they go from checking in to somebody saying Sparks matter dismissed. I don't know what happened there, but I don't think it's necessarily what this guy is saying. I don't know if the Sparks matter was dismissed. I don't know if that's edited, but I certainly have nothing to go on that is convincing to me. Now, this guy is going to believe this evidence simply because he wants to believe it. I don't know. Do cases get dismissed? Sure, cases get dismissed a lot. The prosecution might decide not to proceed. Sparks could have shown up with his license and registration all fixed. He might have paid for his tags, got his inspection, got insurance, and he might have shown it to the prosecutor ahead of the trial and said, "Hey, can we I fixed it. Can you dismiss it?" And the prosecutor might have said, "Yeah, fine. I don't want to deal with you." We have no way of there's no evidence to suggest that his allegedly "I'm Jonathan Sparks" act had any effect on the trial or whatever happened.
Oh. Could it be, Juan? Could it be? Could it be? It works.
Could it be? Sure. I mean, it could be, despite all the evidence to the contrary, despite every other person who's tried a sovereign citizen defense in court having failed. This might be the one time, based on this slim shred of nonsense evidence, this might be the one time where it actually worked. It could be. I mean, there's no real way for it to work in the law unless that state has some particular nuance in its law that I'm not familiar with. But no, your underlying assumption that this is based somehow on contracts, and that by simply not answering to your name in court that you're somehow going to get off of tickets. No, that's not going to work. Because again, remember, the cop issued the ticket and Jonathan Sparks signed the citation. He already admitted his name. He admitted his name before he even went to court. And he showed up in court again because he was aware of and understood that the court had power over him.
Could it be that the brother did not accept the contract?
There was no contract offered, so no. It is impossible that Jonathan Sparks didn't accept the contract because there was no contract offered.
Of the name or anything
So now a name is a contract? That's new.
else when that judge opened his mouth? Could it be that he didn't accept any of the contracts?
No contracts were offered. Requires an offer, an acceptance, and consideration. It also requires meeting of the minds. No contracts.
Love you, Juan. You belligerent fuck.
That sounded like you were having almost a conversation with Juan. Is that when you should not be derogatory?
That's it for this one, guys. I'm out.
Well, once again, we see that what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.